actually a misconception as to why chameleons like Joe change color. Most people think that they want to blend into their environment, but that's not at all the case. Actually, they change color to regulate their body temperature and to show how they're feeling. So males turn themselves into a very bright color to show their dominance, and a very dark color to show that they're aggressive. In their skin, chameleons have different cells containing colored pigments. Some are yellow, some are red, and some also have brown melanin. Beneath these cells, chameleons have skin cells with nanocrystals arranged in a lattice formation. And specifically, these nanocrystals are called photonic crystals, and they have the special feature of controlling light. These photonic crystals are transparent and they are made up of guanine. So, guanine is actually one of the 4 nucleotide bases of the DNA. These crystals also demonstrate a periodic variation in their index of refraction, so in their elemental structure. So basically, the way the atoms are structured within this nanocrystal is in a very repeated pattern. And this allows these crystals to strongly reflect light. They also have a very special characteristic known as the photonic band gap, which essentially prevents a range of wavelengths of light from passing through it. Hence, they have to be reflected. So, let me dive deeper into the physics a little more. When light hits a boundary between 2 materials with different refractive indices, it can be reflected and transmitted. The amount of reflection and transmission truly depends on the angle of incidence and, of course, the index of refraction itself. The index of refraction refers to how much light slows down when it passes through a material compared to how much light travels through a vacuum or air. And let me tell you that light travels approximately at the same speed in both a vacuum and as well as air. This is exactly how mirrors and lenses work, as discussed in class. So in this case, guanine has a very high refractive index. The periodic variation in the refractive index of the photonic crystals causes the spacing between them to match the wavelength of the incident light. And this results in constructive interference. Constructive interference is a special terminology where it just means like the reflected waves, they combine together and form a stronger light wave with increased amplitude. By amplitude, so amplitude mainly affects the brightness of the color. So basically, everything I just explained now means only certain wavelengths of light are strongly reflected. This whole process concept is called the Bragg diffraction. The photonic crystal lattice can either be loosely packed or densely packed. Chameleons change color by tuning how close those crystals are to each other, and this is mainly dependent on their emotions, how they're feeling. So, for example, if they're feeling really, really excited, the spacing between the crystals is increased and they tend to reflect longer wavelengths. So, according to the visible light spectrum, the color changes from violet, indigo, blue, green, yellow, orange, and finally, red. When chameleons are feeling submissive, on the other hand, their cells compress and come into really, really close contact with one another to reflect shorter wavelengths like blue light. Well, you know what? That wraps it up right there. Now, you know the real reason behind why chameleons like Joe and Jill change color.